Did I ever tell you how lucky you are? By Dr. Seuss. Okay, good. When I was quite young and quite small for my size, I met an old man in the desert of Dries, and he sang me a song I will never forget. At least, well, I haven't forgotten it yet. He sat in a terrible, prickly place, and he sang with a sunny, sweet smile in his face. When you think things are bad, when you feel sour and blue, when you start to get mad, you should do what I do. Just tell yourself, ducky, you're really quite lucky. Some people are much more, oh, ever so much more, oh, muchly much more unlucky than you. I'll show you a picture. Be glad you don't work on the Bungerbung Bridge that they're building across Poober Bay at Bum Ridge. It's a troublesome world. All the people who are in it are troubled with troubles almost every minute. You ought to be thankful. A whole heaping lots for the places and the people. You're lucky you are not. Oh, isn't there some wisdom in there? I think this is the thing he was talking about. Okay, the next page. Ooh. Just suppose, for example, you live in Gazit and caught in that traffic on Zuid, Highway 8. Oh, I will read it again. Just suppose, for example, you lived in Gazit and you got caught in traffic on Zuid, Highway 8. Oh, that was a hard one for me. So this is the highway. You see so many people there. So many people. Look at the people. Look what they're doing here. So many people. It's very busy here. Okay. Or suppose, just for instance, you live in Gazair with your bedroom up here and your bathroom up there. That is true. Look. So, think, for example, you live here and you sleep all the way up there and you have to take a pee and you have to do it all the way there. Well, of course, if you are the little man, then you have maybe a little bottle and you can put your pee in the bottle and you can pee like that, but this is different, of course. Like, if you're a girl, it's a little bit different, although I think you can also pee in a pot and then later just throw it out of the window. I mean, why not? Okay. Just suppose, you were poor 𝔸𝖊𝖙𝖔𝖓, who has taken his 𝔸𝕊𝕄ℝ apart. Oh yeah, he never will get it together, I'm sure. He'll never know if the geek or the gore fit into the swerks or the smarks or the s'more. Yes, ducky, you're lucky you're not 𝔸𝖊𝖙𝖔𝖓, who has taken his 𝔸𝕊𝕄ℝ apart. Oh yeah, very true. Have you ever had that? When you thought, oh, I can take it apart, it's not that hard. But then you figured out it was actually a way too above your pay grade hard. Yes, so you actually couldn't do it, and it was a little bit frustrating, and then you just throw everything out and just bought a new one. But of course, if you're super obsessive, you can't do that because it's you just need to fix the problem. Okay. Think they work you too hard. Think of poor 𝔸𝖙𝖵𝖔𝖓. He has to mow the grass in his uncle's backyard. It is quick growing grass, and it grows as he mows it. And the faster he mows it, the faster he grows it. And all his stingy old uncle will pay for shoving that mower around in the hay is a pitiless pay of $2 a day, and 𝔸𝐿 can't live on such a pitiless pay. This is this whole yard with all the fucking magic grass, you see. And yeah, this poor boy, he has to do it all by himself. It's way too hard for him. Like, seriously, that's not a child's job. That's a little bit too much. It's too much. He has to paint flagpoles on Sunday in Greece. How lucky are you? You don't live in his shoes. Yeah, that's not a fun job. I wouldn't do that. Like, that is too big, okay? It's not good. No. Okay. And poor Mr. Biggs, every morning at 6, poor Mr. Biggs has his poor fin to fix. It doesn't seem fair. It just doesn't seem right. But the poor fix seems to go slump every night. It slumps in a heap, sadly needing repair. Figures it's due to local night air, and it takes him all day to unslump it. And then the night air comes back and it slumps once again. So don't you feel blue? Get down in the dumps. You're lucky you don't have a poor fin that slumps. And while we're at it, consider Schultz, a krumpelhorn, wet-footed, a green-bearded schlons, whose tail is entailed with unsolvable knots. Oof. If he isn't muchly more worse off than you, I eat my umbrella, and that is just what I'll do. Well, not me, okay? So, you see, this is the creature, and this is his poor little tail, literally in the nuts. And Mr. Seuss is going to eat his own umbrella, okay? If your situation is more shit. Not me, but Mr. Seuss is. Okay. Next picture. And you're lucky indeed you don't ride on a camel. To ride on a camel, you sit on a 𝔸𝖊𝖙. A 𝔸𝖨𝐿, you know, is a sort of saddle held on by a button that is known as a faddle. Oh boy, if your old 𝔸𝖸𝖙 gets loose, I'm telling you, ducky, you're gone like a goose. And poor Mr. Potter, T crosser, I dotter. He has to cross T's and he has to dot the I's in the IT factory out in Venice. Look at him. Look at this man. I think he actually enjoys this and he's actually getting off on it. I don't think he hates his job. But, of course, I think it is like a symbolic thing for like people who work in a factory and to do all things the same. But some people actually like to do this, so yeah. That's also okay. If they like it, they like it. Okay, next page. And the jobs people work at out west near ouch. There's a Hutcher, bee watcher, and his job is to watch, to keep both of his eyes on the lazy town bee, and the bee that is watched will work harder, you see. Well, he watched and he watched, but in spite of his watch, the bee didn't work harder at all, not much. So then somebody said, our old bee watching man isn't just bee watching as hard as he can, and he out to be watched by another hutch watcher. And thing that we need is a bee watcher. Well. Ta-da! Yes. The bee watcher watched the bee watcher. He didn't watch well, so another hutcher had to come in as a bee hutch watcher. And today all the hutches who live in a hutch are watching the watching, watching the watcher who's watching that bee. You are not a hutch watcher, you're lucky, you see. So look at them, they're all watching. That's crazy. Controls society they're living. Okay. And how fortunate that you're not Professor DeBreeze, who spent his past 32 years, if you please, trying to teach Irish ducks to read Javanese. Well, that's a shitty job, because I don't think they can read. And think of the poor puffing bugle horn players who have to parade down the bugle horn stairs every morning to wake up the Prince of Boken. It's awful how often the bugles get broken. How do you think? Oh, this book smells nice. And oh, just suppose you were poor Harry Haddo. Try as he will, he can't make any shadow. He thinks that perhaps something is wrong with his giz, and think that by golly, there probably is. Oh, no, look at him, he doesn't have a shadow. Something terribly wrong with his shadow. Poor brother Spazu. Suppose your hair grew like theirs happens to do. You think you're unlucky? I am telling you, Ducky, some people are muchly, oh so, ever so muchly more unlucky than you. And suppose that you lived in the forest in France, where the average young person hasn't a chance to escape from the plants eating plants, but your plants are safe. You're a fortunate guy, and you ought to be shouting how lucky you are. And speaking of plants, you should be greatly glad-ish you're not farmer Falkenberg's 17th radish. And you are so lucky you're not Gunky Gown, who lives by himself 90 miles out of town in the ruins of the Ronk. Ronk is rather run down. 90 miles out of town. I think this man can also be super happy with himself. Why assume he is sad all the way from town? We don't need town to make ourselves happy. And you're so lucky you're not a left sock left behind by mistake in caverns of Croc. If you are a lost left sock lost in the caverns of Croc, thank goodness of all the things you are not. Thank goodness you're not something someone forgot and left all alone in some bunkerish place, like a rusty tin coat hanger hanging in space. Yeah, that is a very unfortunate place to hang. Yes. And that is why I say, Ducky, don't grumble, just see and don't stew. Some critters are much, oh, ever so much, so muchly much more unlucky than you. And see, he is even smiling and sitting on the prickly pear next to the old happy man. So, it's nice. Nice. And now I am going to read it once again. Okay. When I was quite young, quite small for my size, I met an old man in the desert of Dries. He sang me a song I will never forget. At least, well, I haven't forgotten it yet. He sat in a terrible prickly place, and he sang with a sunny sweet smile on his face.
when you think things are bad, and when you feel sour and blue, when you start to get nuts, you should do what I do. Tell yourself, lucky ducky, you are really quite lucky. Some people are much, much more, however, so muchly more unlucky than you. Be glad you don't work on a bungling bungle bridge where what they're building across the Boober Bay Bum Bridge. It is a troublesome world and other people are in it, all troubled with troubles. Almost every minute you ought to be thankful, a whole heaping lot, for the places and the people. You're lucky or not. Just suppose, for example, you lived in Gazette and got caught in traffic on that highway. Or suppose, just for instance, you live in Gazir and your bathroom is up there and your bathroom is up here. Just suppose you were poor Herbie Hart, who has taken his Trumpty-Dump later apart. He will never get it back together, I'm sure, and he will never know if the kick or the gore fit into the struts or the snooks or the snore. Yes, Ducky, you're lucky you're not Herbie Smart, who has taken his Trumpty-Dum later apart. Think you work hard, think of a poor Ali Shard. He has to mow the grass of his uncle's backyard, and it's quick growing grass, and he mows it as it grows it, and the faster he mows it, the faster he grows it, and all the stingy old man is willing to pay for him mowing the mower round in a day is the frivolous pay of $2 a day, and Ali can't live on such a frivolous pay. So he has to paint flagpoles on Sunday in Greece. How lucky you are not in his shoes. And poor Mr. Biggs, every morning at 6, poor Mr. Biggs has his poor fix to fix. And it doesn't seem fair, it just doesn't seem right, but poor fix just seem to go slump every night. It slumps in a heap, and it goes slump, and sadly needs repair. Biggs figured it's due to local night air. Takes him all day to unslump it, and when the night time comes, it comes back and it slumps once again. So you don't feel blue, don't get down in the dumps, because you're lucky you don't have to fix a poor fin that slumps. And while we're at it, consider the schlots, the crumple-horn, web-footed, green-bearded schlump, whose tail is entailed with unsolvable knots. If he isn't much worse off than you, I eat my umbrella, and that's just what I'll do. And you're lucky indeed, you don't ride on a camel. To ride on a camel, you sit on a whamel. A whamel, you know, is a sort of saddle, held on by a button that is known as a faddle. Oh boy, if your old whamel faddle gets loose, I'm telling you, ducky, you're gone like a goose. And poor Mr. Potter, T-crosser, I-dotter, he has to cross T's, he has to dot the I's, and that the jobs people work at out west near Hatchratch, there's a hatch wedge, a bee watcher. His job is to watch, is to keep both eyes on the lazy town bee. The bee that is watched will work harder, you see. Well, he watched and watched, and in spite of his watch, the bee didn't work much harder. Oh no, not as much. And then somebody said, our old bee watching man isn't just bee watching as hard as he can. He ought to be watched by another hatch watcher. And the thing that we need is a bee watcher. Well, the bee watcher watched the bee watcher, and he didn't watch well, so another hatch has to come in to watch the watcher. And today all the hatches who live in hatch are watching the watching the watching that bee. You're not a hatch watcher. You're lucky, you see. And how fortunate you are not to be Professor De Breeze, who has spent his last 32 years, if you please, trying to teach Irish ducks how to read Japanese. And think of the poor puffing buglehorn players who have to parade down the buglehorn stairs every morning to wake up the Prince of Boolbok. And it's awful how often the bugles get broken. And oh, just suppose your poor 𝕻𝖙𝖗𝖊𝖔𝖓, try as he will, he can't make any shadow. He thinks that perhaps something is wrong with his geese, and I think that, by golly, it probably is. And the brothers Bagoo, oh, the poor brothers Bazoo. Oh, suppose your hair grew, and theirs happened to do too. I'm telling you, Ducky, that's unlucky. You think you were unlucky? Oh no, Ducky, some people are muchly, ever so muchly more unlucky than you. And suppose that you lived in the forest of France, where the average young person doesn't have a chance to escape the burly plant-eating plants. And your pants, the plants are eating pants. And your pants is safe. You're a fortunate guy, but you ought to be shouting, how lucky am I? And speaking of plants, you should be greatly glad that you're not Farmer Falkenberg's 17th radish. And you're so lucky you're not Gucky Gown, who lives by himself 90 miles out of town in the ruins of Ronk. Ronk is rather run down. Yeah, you're so lucky you're not a left sock left behind by mistake in the ravens of Croc. Thank goodness for all the things you're not. Thank goodness for something that you're not something that someone forgot. I'm left alone in some punkerish place like a rusty tin coat hanger, hanging in space. That's why I say, Ducky, don't grumble, don't stew. Some critters are much worse off.